Hello, good morning. Welcoming you to Toronto's Daily News for Monday, January the 7th. I'm your host, Dorian Sky. Today's news report in general is brought to you by Gaily Veritable Coconut Whipped Cream and Barzula Coffee. I'm going to work in some product stuff to demonstrate how I want to work in advertising in the future. So I can demonstrate it. So stick around for two more ads. So Global has started reporting on the Unistoten situation, or maybe, I don't know, continued reporting on it. And so did CBC, British Columbia News. Global called it a pipeline showdown. So on Monday, police moved in. We all knew this was coming. They arrested 11 people. They breached the Unistoten, the blockade leading to the camp that was set up by the I can't pronounce this right, the Dundon clan. And so they are serving this injunction, which they've been allowed to do. Interestingly enough, like the CBC did kind of a nice job this time. They acknowledged that the land is unceded and which kind of implies that what's going on is illegal, points out what's going on is illegal, although they didn't go that far. They reported that like 20 band councils support the pipeline, but the band councils can only authorize on-reserve development. This is a really incredible thing for the CBC to point out. I mean, they're practically supporting the activists at this point. Police haven't disclosed plans about what they're going to do next. The Global keeps calling it a protest camp. Everybody, the news networks keep calling it a protest camp. So I just wanted to point out, like, they have buildings there. They've never been like, there's nothing to prevent them from putting up buildings and settling in there and having a village and stuff like that. So they've been doing that for like 8 years now, and they've got, a whole community there. So calling it a camp is an interesting choice by the press. It's a pretty sketchy choice. Okay, so in other news, just this morning, tomorrow's news today. It's today's news. This morning's news today. Usually this is morning after news. But this morning, a woman died in Bloor Court Village closed donation bin. She apparently yelled for help and then died while waiting for first responders to arrive. So we have had a donation bin death here in Toronto after watching it happen twice in Vancouver, and we didn't do anything about our own bins, which are exactly the same thing. I missed a couple things about the Unistoten situation. So the RCMP has set up their own checkpoint and is like letting people out, making sure they can't come back in. That's classic tactic. That's the only thing that I forgot about. Okay. Except that there was a big fire burning there at some point on Monday. 11 arrests are made. There's a big fire. It might be like a new blockade. The camp has had its communication situation cut off. And this is something that police can do with advanced like electronics gear and stuff. So our Prime Minister has thanked Trump for support on the political prisoners situation with China during this Canadian delegation's visit to China. Michael Spavor's GoFundMe page has been shut down. The company that does process payments for GoFundMe has returned everybody's donations and said they can't be processed. Friends of his say it's because of his work in the DPRK. So the government's new food guide, they asked 25,000 or more Canadians about how to do it. Apparently their own research, Health Canada's own research, indicated that Canadians had no confidence in the food guide, and that we all saw it for the totally corrupted lobbying propaganda document that it was this whole time. And so they decided that they wanted to actually put out a food guide that was more useful. Food groups are gone because there's no food groups. Eating behavior suggestions have been added. And instead of saying like, okay, here's the good and bad proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and here's how to combine them, they just sort of have said, here's your different ways of getting protein, and then please also get a bunch of veggies and fruits as well. So it's a step up. It's not really advanced or anything like that, but it's a step up. The CBC National, when they reminded us, when they reported on this, they reminded us that a lot of Canadians can't afford good food. So operations have been suspended at Imperial Metals I'm a little vague on the location. A British Columbia copper mine, I think. They have shut it down. It's been involved in a bunch of big, huge pollution releases and wildlife die-offs and stuff like that. But they say that the shutdown is because of declining copper prices. The Saskatchewan government has apologized for its role in the 60s scoop. CBC National, when they're reporting on this water girl meme coverage, the first meme of 2019, because journalists can notice and define what the first meme is going to be. No. 4chan knows what the first meme is. You hosers, don't stay in your lane, okay? 4chan knows what the first meme was. I'm probably even wrong. But anyway, so while reporting on this, CBC National pointed out that Fiji, the country, and Fiji water is super dirty, just like politically, socially, environmentally. And that was kind of interesting. They managed to sneak that in there. So a philanthropist has died, and his secret identity has been revealed. He's a Montreal man who's been donating like bikes to kids. Like as a kid, he couldn't afford a bike. His family couldn't afford a bike, and so he's been donating like money to kids cycling charities and stuff like that for years, and for like 30 years, anonymously. But then on his death, his identity's been revealed, and even people who knew him had no idea about this. And then the people who did know about this, they were just sort of saying like he just always wanted to be anonymous. He never wanted he just wanted it to be a cool gift from one stranger to another. In other children cycling news, a great, now I'm all lost. A Nanaimo boy was struck while cycling near his home. Global News, when they were reporting on this, managed to mention that he was wearing his helmet. Police mentioned that they were going to do a mechanical check on the vehicle, which kind of implies like, oh, maybe the brakes weren't working. And they also managed to mention that the driver remained on the scene and alcohol was not a factor. So this is the stuff the news typically mentions in these cases. They talk about helmets, they talk about remaining on the scene, they talk about booze, they talk about mechanical stuff with the car, and they just really try to avoid discussing whether or not the driver was overrunning their safety margins at the time, as in like not giving enough space to yield and stuff like that, not being ready to yield. So see how that story develops, and we'll see how it gets reported on, because the story itself, but also the reporting, is kind of an important thing for child cycling safety and stuff like that. So these two BC officers who were on trial in Cuba. One of them for sexually assaulting this 17-year-old who was there, and one of whom for, I guess, being an accessory. They got cleared in Cuba, and so it's going to be hard to retry them here for some reason, apparently. But they're going to be facing like professional investigation by their superior officer, because they're police, and disciplinary action might be taken. I need to report on a sweet bit of news to do this. Oh, that's right. weather. So Tuesday is going to be like rainy as hell in the evening, peaking at 10, and then nighttime is going to be super, super windy. I forgot what direction the wind is going to come in, but watch out for that. And Monday saw a whole bunch of freezing rain for a whole bunch of southern Ontario. At this point, I'm going to do my other endorsement. That is the MotoMaster Eliminator. If you get one of these power supply things, it's like $60, and you can jumpstart your car with it. You can use it to charge your phone and stuff like that. It's a great thing to have in your car or your garage. I ran into a guy whose battery had died. He hadn't used his car in like a week or something like that. It was a super cold day. I was just like, damn, I wish I had my Eliminator on me at the time. I was doing a delivery. It's small enough you can take it in a backpack on a bike, get one. So snow is going to, we might have more freezing rain in the south end of the province and snow up north. And for those snowy days, you might want to get some, okay, now it's all died down or whatever, but I don't know, the cream, it was all nice and pretty, but it's still all tasty. And you just can't do any better than this kick-ass coffee. I like to boil it and then strain it off, whatever you want to do. So I forgot what union it is, but the one that represents auto workers at the Oshawa GM plant, they are going to meet in Detroit with GM to discuss maybe trying to keep the plant going. Here in Toronto, Sunday PM 2:30. There was that shooting at Queen and Woodbine where like two shooters were shooting at some people in a vehicle. People in the vehicle were apparently shooting back. Police have arrested two shooters in that. I think it's the people who fled. So to celebrate that sweet bit of news, I toast you with the whippy. I love the whippy. Whipped cream. So two things happened with the GO train situation today. Monday morning, a locomotive for a GO train coming in from Oshawa caught fire while it was passing the distillery district. So I guess it had just gone through the Don Valley, passing the distillery district. It was smoking. It wasn't like bursting into flames or whatever. It was smoking. So that's bad. And also the first GO train directly to Niagara Falls took off, and passengers totally avoid that. Some totally loved that. Some people just grabbed a ticket just to check it out. And that is your morning after news, covering the events of Monday, January the 7th, and that early Tuesday morning death of a woman in Bloor Court. This is your host, Dorian Sky. Have a great Tuesday.